And you are good to go.
This open meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee is being conducted remotely, consisting with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Haley on March 28, 2025, which extends the authorization for state and local public bodies to conduct public meetings in a hybrid or remote format through June 30th, 2027. These provisions suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. I hereby call to order this meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee on January 14th, 2026 at 7 p.m. I am Linda Lukowski, Chair of the School Committee, and I would like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Erin Berger,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Paul Goldner,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Caitlin Hunter,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Matthew Landers,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Paul Mayette,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Owen Silva,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Narissa Wallen,
I am here and I can hear you.
Superintendent Brian Forget,
Here and I can hear you.
Director of Finance and Operations Dr. Richard Poor,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Director of Student Services Shannon Nolan,
I'm here and I can hear you.
Director of Curriculum Assessment Instruction Dr. Anna Bates.
I'm here and I can hear you.
For this meeting, the Triton Regional School Committee is convening remotely via Zoom using the information posted on the district's website identifying how the public may join. If you are personally attending by video conference using your device's camera, please be aware that others may be able to see you. Committee members and administrators, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the district's website with the agenda posting unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I'm going to read our vision statement. We are a community of learners known for our unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students through the adoption of best practices and our active partnership with families and the wider community who are united in supporting the development of engaged, successful, responsible, resilient learners. Students will be well prepared to be ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. I'd like to thank the members for their patience tonight. We have lots of light housekeeping updates in January, and we didn't want to move those to February and cancel this meeting because it would overload the February agenda. January is a packed month, so just a reminder that the budget and improvement plan presentation meetings are at 6 p.m. next Tuesday through Thursday, January 20th through the 22nd, and that the District Communication Committee meeting with the town officials will be Thursday, January 29th at 6:30 p.m. at Newbury Town offices. After honoring a fantastic group of student communicators in December, we are skipping a month and will pick back up with student collaborators in February. The next item is oral communications from the public. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public, the meeting host muted you as you entered the meeting. If you would like to address the committee, please indicate now that you would like to do so by using the raise hand option on the participant screen. The meeting host will unmute you so that you can address the committee. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. When you have finished speaking, the meeting host will mute you again. Members of the public may address the committee for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chairperson. The committee will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Narissa will be timing the 3 minutes per speaker. Please be sure to state your name and address before beginning your comments.
So I'll go through the list and so we're not having multiple going out of order. So we'll start at the top. Mackenzie Barrett. You should be, did you get a little prompt to unmute? There you go.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Barrett. I live at 21 Railroad Ave in Rowley. I've been an instructional assistant at Pine Grove for 4 years. I have 3 children who have either gone through the Triton District or are currently attending Pine Grove School. I'm here today to give my New Year's resolution to the school committee on behalf of myself and other IAs currently at Pine Grove School. In 2026, I believe the school committee must no longer treat us like bodies instead of professional educators. They must show up to bargaining unprepared and negotiate and not make us wait long periods of time with no progress. And in 2026, I believe the school committee must commit to giving IAs a voice and respecting us as educators, giving us a proper livable wage. I also believe that we should be paid a living wage so that we don't have to work 3 jobs. I believe the school committee must commit to acknowledging and valuing the IAs and what we bring to the schools. Sincerely, the Triton Instructional Assistants. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mackenzie. All right, next on Allison Harney. Where did you go? Should now be asking you to unmute. There you go.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Harney. I live at 215 Main Street in Rowley, and I currently work as an instructional assistant at Pine Grove School. I've been an IA in the district for the past 4 years, and I've been part of the Rowley community for most of my life. I even attended PGS as a student myself. Tonight, my fellow IAs and I are here as members of the Triton Regional Instructional Assistants Association to share our New Year's resolutions, which highlight the support and recognition we hope to see from you in the form of a fair new contract. In 2026, I believe that the school committee must no longer ignore safety concerns from staff and have IAs rely on public assistance to make ends meet. They must commit to paid parental leave and keep stipends that recognize the different types of work that we do. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Allison. Next, Julia Knight. Should be asking you to unmute.
Hi there. So I'm an instructional assistant at Pine Grove Elementary School, and I have some other resolutions that us IAs have all discussed. We want us to be paid with poverty wages. We want us, or not poverty wages, to get better than poverty wages, pay us a fair rate when we substitute for teachers, commit to paying IAs a living wage ×6, and allowing IAs and teachers to work together and stay together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Julia. All right. Lily Robinson is next. Lily, you should be prompted to unmute. There you go.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Hello, I'm Lily Robinson. I have New Year's resolution for the Triton School Committee. In 2026, the Triton School Committee must commit to acknowledging the values IAs bring to our schools, a fair contract for IAs, and fully funding Triton regional schools. And in 2026, the Triton School Committee must no longer expect us to dress like it's the 1950s, pay IAs poverty wages, and show up to bargainings unprepared to negotiate. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily. All right, last hand I see, Amy LeBlanc. Should be asking you to, prompting you to unmute, Amy. There you go.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy LeBlanc, and I live in Newburyport, and I work as an IA at Newbury Elementary in the Adaptive Learning Program. I am here to tell you that you need to commit to the resolutions that are brought to you here today, including the following. In 2026, the Triton School Committee must no longer provide IAs with PDs that waste our time, ignore our concerns, paying IAs poverty wages, keeping us waiting when students and staff need help, paying IAs poverty wages, ignoring safety concerns, keeping us waiting for long periods of time when help is needed, relying on public assistance for IAs to make ends meet, and being charged too much for our health insurance. In 2026, the school committee must commit to coming in to observe the IAs in action to see what we do every day, listening to IAs when we advocate for our students, to not moving staff to programs or schools that they don't want to be at, paying us a living wage, paying IAs a living wage, fair pay rates when we serve as substitutes, focusing on our work, not how we dress, safety care training, especially for our TLC IAs, and paying IAs a living wage. As instructional assistants, we work tirelessly to make our students that are cared for and have everything that they need. But with all the resolutions you have heard tonight, you can tell that we do not make enough for what we do every day. We don't feel respected, valued, or appreciated. If you keep paying IAs poverty wages and continue not respecting them and the work that we do every day, you will end up losing a lot of valuable and highly educated IAs to other districts that are paying them what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, I do not see any other hands raised. Linda. I don't know the other co-hosts. Anyone else see any hands? No?
Nope. Okay,
All right.
thank you for those who have spoken. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains one donation tonight. Thank you very much to Sullivan Studios for donating $1,300 to Newbury Elementary School. The consent agenda does not include any overnight or out-of-state field trip requests this month. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Erin Berger,
Yes.
Paul Goldner,
Yes.
Caitlin Hunter,
Yes.
Matthew Landers,
Yes.
Paul Mayette,
Yes.
Owen Silva,
Yes.
Narissa Wallen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. The next item is the student representative report. Foster is going to try and make it towards the end of the meeting. If not, myself or Narissa will be reading what his report was. New business, would any members like to raise additional items for inclusion on a future agenda? Seeing none, the next item is the DCC meeting update. We covered the recap of the November District Communications Committee meeting with town officials last month, and there was no December meeting due to the holidays. The January meeting will be later than typical because we scheduled it after the governor's state budget release, which is due on or before January 28th. The DCC meeting with town officials will be January 29th at 6:30 p.m. at Newbury Town offices. And since this is a formative discussion for the upcoming Triton budget discussions, I hope you will either attend or watch the video. The next item is the Student Services update. Director of Student Services, Shannon Nolan, is going to provide the board with her mid-year update.
Thank you for having me talk about all the things we're doing in the student services. So I know that you received this update before, but I'll go through kind of each of the titles. The first thing I'll talk about is the Special Education Committee. So we had a Special Education Committee last year, and it was more focused on implementing the new IEP because we were able to get some funding from the state. But through that, I received a lot of feedback from staff that they really thought it was an important thing to have in the district, to have a district-wide committee. So we were able to start that this year. So we have representatives from each school that we meet every other month. We are focusing on still talking about the new IEP, just implementing it consistently, talking about the different the different components. We're focusing on just ways of supporting our students that are in front of us. Some of them have very complex needs. And so just talking about the things that are happening in the schools and ways that we can kind of support staff with what's happening. Discussing legal issues. We also have some different proposed changes from the state that have come down, such as the 5-day timeline for the IEP. So as a committee, we've talked about how to implement the changes and again, how to support staff with the changes. We talked about professional development. We're currently working on the transition between 6th grade and the middle school and supporting staff and parents through a more smooth transition. The conversations are just about kind of having consistency across buildings and just the staff collaborating that we weren't able to do before, being in all different buildings, but kind of working towards the same goal. So that committee will continue throughout the year. This year for special education professional development, since we started implementing the new IEP, we have focused on that for our professional development, just choosing different components of it. So last year we focused on the present level pages, and we chose that because the new IEP went from 1 present level page to 4. So the present level page has current performance data, student strengths, and impact statements. So we worked on last year having consistency on how we write those. So then at the beginning of this year, we had some professional development in the area of goal writing and objectives and writing objectives for the IEPs. And we're continuing to work on that. As we move into February, we have another PD focused on writing measurable goals, connecting them with our impact statements. We also, at the beginning of the year, had some professional development with an AI platform called Playground IEP, which supports special education teachers on writing IEP goals, writing impact statements. So as you know, there's a lot of paperwork as a special education teacher, and with the new 5-day timeline, they're feeling the crunch. So this platform has really helped them to be able to get some support in that area of writing these goals and kind of being able to spend more time with the students. So I've gotten really good feedback on this. We provided the professional development, and then we gave them a choice if they wanted to try it. And I think I have 42 people that are trying it, and some have used it only a few times, but with the platform, it comes with professional development. So we've had office hours every month. And then we've had just components of the platform that they're providing like 20-minute professional development on. So so I've received pretty good positive feedback on that. And then last year into this year, with the new IEP requiring so much more data to be collected, we've been training the IAs. Joelle, our special education coordinator, has been working with our IAs. There's another training coming up in February on collecting data, and the special education teachers are looking at different tools to use. And so Joelle is trying to kind of support the IAs in how to collect the data in the classroom. We also have been implementing an out-of-district monitoring form, which came from the state, but Joelle, the special education coordinator, is really working closely to ensure that our students who are placed out of district are receiving the services they deserve, the services they need, that their IEPs are exactly what, targets the skills that they need to work on. And she's working with teams through this monitoring to try to bring back students that are ready to come back to district. Because, when we send a student out of district, the goal is to always, to hopefully provide them with the strategies and tools they need and bring them back to district. And she has been able to bring some students back, which is wonderful. And then in school year 23-24, I talked about last year, we did a program evaluation on our EL program and on our TLC program. So we are in the second year of implementing the plans for these programs. So our EL team is actually receiving a series of professional development sessions with a outside presenter who they've actually really, they had one today with her who they've really enjoyed, and they want her to come back next year. So they're focusing on the WIDA standards, on progress monitoring for EL students, on goal development, on assessment. So just kind of strengthening those areas in our district. And then they're also working in their schools to present 2 to 3 they call it Spotlight on EL. So just at staff meetings, doing like 10, 15 minutes, not even probably that long, sharing strategies on how to support the multilingual learners in the classroom. And then I attached the English Language Learner Family Welcome Kit, which was created this summer by Leah Conti, one of our EL teachers. And we have been using it starting this year. So new families that come into the district, we are able to give it to them. We have it translated through all the languages that are currently in our district, but we also can translate if a family moves in that we don't currently have it translated for. So that has really helped, and it identifies just at each school administrators and just important things that are happening in the school. The TLC program is currently implementing the ACE program, which is a curriculum for students who have pragmatics or communication devices. It supports collecting data for these students, and it helps to target what skills they need to learn, adaptive living skills, and then they're able to collect the data through this program, and then the program helps the teachers to then determine what are next steps for these students. So that has been, that also with that program comes, the professional development comes with it. So that's been ongoing. They've been wonderful. That they have a BCBA that works with us, and she's willing to come in and support our staff anytime. We're also talking about the grids and how we write the grids, like the services on the IEP, and we're trying to make them consistent across the program so that it's easier for parents and for staff to understand the grids. We are continuing to strengthen our partnerships with outside agencies. We do recognize that when we have students with such complex needs, if we can support them in the school, but we also need to help to support the parents, the families outside of school, and these agencies working with them and getting supports in place early. So DDS is one of the main agencies that we work with through the TLC program. And Mary Rita, our ATC, has really done a nice job of connecting with DDS and connecting our families with DDS to either get services put in place or just to have that connection as their students grow. So our Pine Grove Reach program was evaluated this year, and we brought in Dr. Hirschberg. He evaluated the program in September. He then wrote an evaluation report. We reviewed the evaluation report and we're currently in the final stages of creating a 2-year plan for the program. But this year, through the recommendations that he made, we've brought him on to provide professional development. He did professional development with the entire school. He's doing some coaching with specific teachers that have asked to work with him more closely on self-regulation skills in the classroom at the Tier 1 level. And he's working with our REACH program directly. So he's done some trainings with the IAs. He is working with our BCBA and our counselor to just kind of work on those recommendations that he's made. And we have decided to move the REACH program to SES next year. Pine Grove their population continues to grow. The REACH program requires multiple rooms. There's for staffing, for students. So because Pine Grove needs to access more of those rooms that we're using for the program, and Salisbury doesn't have a program currently, We have decided to move starting in September. We'll move the REACH program to Salisbury. We've met with staff. Parents are aware, and it's really exciting. I think that the Salisbury staff will, first of all, enjoy having the students from the program in their school, but also will continue the partnership with Dr. Hirschberg to support the staff and to continue the great work that Pine Grove has started with the program. And then the student attendance. So this year was the first year that we were able to implement consistently across the board our student attendance plan, our Triton attendance plan. The plan was created kind of looking at strategies that were used at each school and strategies that worked, and implementing them consistently across the board. So as you saw in October when Anna presented, she talked about that that the district met or exceeded many of the attendance targets. And we're hoping that with the attendance plan, we'll see some more positive results and more consistently across the district using the strategies, and see the data move forward with all schools across the district. And the last thing that I had on my presentation was the district counselors. So our district counselors have been lucky to be able to have Becky Bebo, who's kind of leading the work with professional development with them. And she wrote a grant for a platform called Lenny Learning last year. And we were actually able to pull our speech and language therapists in. And Lenny Learning is a platform that helps, it's an AI platform that helps teachers to create pragmatic lessons, just anything in the area for therapies. And speech and language therapists and our counselors have really given us positive feedback about the platform. It ends on January 31st, but we're working to try to make sure that they have access to this platform moving forward. So thank you to Becky for kind of being able to get us access to this. And then she's also worked really hard to target the professional development for our counselors, because as you know, we have intense needs. Many of our students have intense needs, and our counselors really need to keep up on professional development in order to be able to support our students and their families. So she was able to bring someone in to work on mindfulness. They're also working on writing and implementing their IEP goals. They did some treatment plan work. And so she's continuing to talk with them. They meet every professional development day, an hour before professional development, just to talk about what do they need. She gives case consultation and, just talking about what do you need? And then she goes out and is working to support them. So those are some of the things that we are doing in the world of student services. And I will take any questions you have.
Thank you, Shannon.
Does anybody have any questions for Shannon?
Narissa?
So thanks to Shannon. I appreciate your update. A couple questions. Obviously, moving a program school to school can be disruptive. Are there kind of plans on how to prepare students for that transition who have had the experience at Pine Grove and now will have the experience at Salisbury Elementary to essentially do that to hopefully ease it?
Absolutely. We haven't had a chance to, we just got this out, I think it was last week. So we haven't had a chance to meet as a group to determine the transition plan, but we absolutely will. We'd be open to families visiting Salisbury. I know Michael's really excited about having the program. So any way that we can support the families and support the students, absolutely. We'll come up with some ideas.
And I'm assuming this will be a longer term home. This is not a 1 year, 2 year transition.
Yeah.
This is a longer term. Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. The self-regulation tier 1 training that Pine Grove staff has been receiving, did I hear you say that that's going to Salisbury Elementary staff as well? Because I think that's, obviously. I think it's valuable in most classrooms.
I wish I could do it at every school, to tell you the truth.
Right?
Um,
That was going to be my next question. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you have plans in that direction, but
Love to. Yes, we absolutely. I've already talked to Dr. Hirschberg and written it into the budget, and he will continue to work with staff. Michael and I have talked about how he did a training at the beginning of the year with Pine Grove, and we're hoping to start with that with Salisbury and continue with the coaching and continue with the support over there for sure.
and the only other thing I wanted to comment was that English Learner Family Welcome Kit. That is quite the resource. I really love that that was put together, because I can imagine for families that are kind of entering this process, that has to be helpful for them.
Yeah, I will let Leah know, because she worked very hard on that over the summer. And I know the EL team right now is talking about doing in the summer or early September of next year, kind of a family welcome get together for the district and bringing in community supports and things like that. So that's what they're kind of talking about for the next step for family support.
That's a really great idea. Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any other questions? And I'd like to have you thank Becky and Joelle as well, because they've put in a lot of work to help make sure that all the students of the district are successful.
Absolutely. I couldn't do my job without them. That's the truth. I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
The next item is update on early release days. The 2025-2026 school calendar was a shift from past practice, moving the monthly professional development half days from Fridays to Wednesdays. The board discussions on the calendar for the next school year will happen in February and March. And we'd requested data and feedback on the switch to Wednesday PD days in advance of those discussions. I'd like to thank Dr. Anna Bates for gathering that information and ask her to walk us through the report.
Great, thank you. So I have two documents to go over with the committee. One is a survey of staff on the impact of the change of early release days from Fridays to Wednesdays. And I thought it was important to ask two different questions on there: the impact of that change on professional learning, and then also the impact of the change on student learning. So this survey represents comments on both of those areas. So on the first page, you will see we had 162 responses spread out amongst the schools, and then the various roles too. You can see the percentage of classroom teachers, special educators, instructional assistants, related service providers who responded to this survey. So I think we got with that number of responses and the breadth of roles in schools, I think we got a pretty good representation of the district. So the first question was just sharing your perception of the impact on professional learning. And we had about 50% who said it was neutral, not a big shift. A small percentage, 12.3%, that said it was a positive shift, and 38.9% who said it was negative. So the reasoning, a lot of it was about really disruption. I think disruption to the flow of professional work during the week, being able to engage in professional learning on Fridays when they had finished all other tasks that needed to be done. Some shared concerns with their own focus on Wednesdays as opposed to Fridays. And then you can see, and these comments were summarized using the help of AI, so I did want to say that as well. But you can see a lot of the comments, even in the section about professional learning, reference student learning too. So I think reading these comments and then also the data about the impact on student learning, that's what people are saying, is that there was a greater impact on what they perceive to be a greater negative impact on student learning, and they're feeling that too in their professional practice. For example, their students seem to be challenged more with behavior and following routines, and then in turn they're feeling that as well. So then in terms of their perception of the impact on the change day of week on the student learning experience, more than 50% said it was a negative impact on students. 37.7% were neutral, and 11.1% said it had a positive impact on students. So I'm glad that we asked this question. I think when we think about professional learning, we're thinking about the impact that it has on educators' professional growth. And also we need to understand that how they engage in that professional learning can also have an impact on the students. So there were more negative comments about the impact of this change on students. Really, once again, about interruption in routine, struggling to re-engage students in learning on that day after professional learning. I think there was a reference to almost feeling like there were 2 Mondays where you had to get students back for the weekend, and then you have to get them back again that Thursday after the early release day. And then it was brought up about having an impact on students who might need a little additional support in routine and consistency, and worries that it was having a disproportionate impact on some of our special education students who may have executive functioning issues, and then this further compounds that. So I shared all of this data with the District Professional Development Committee this past week. And we engaged in some small group discussions using a protocol, and really looked at things that we were noticing about this and things that we were wondering about. That group, I think, was they noticed the same things, that there was pretty split in the impact on professional learning, of almost 50-50, and that there was a more negative or a perception of a more negative impact on student learning. The group, a number of the members of the group questioned, is this because this is new and things that are and change is hard, and how would some of this settle out over time? And others shared, no, there's a lot of information right here that shows that we're not doing what's best for students and what's best for educators at this point. So even we had an engaging discussion about this, and through that discussion, I think we heard both sides of that as well. Are there any questions about this particular survey or these results we heard from educators? I think Foster's raising his hand. I don't know how to unmute him though.
There you go. Sorry. My question was, so I know it was used to be half days on Fridays. What was the reason kind of for the switch to Wednesdays? Was it for better professional development, or I just wondering?
It's a good question. I think there were a number of reasons. One was to believing, I think, that people would be better to engage in the work of professional learning when it wasn't at the end of a work week, when they hadn't just spent like 4.5 days doing what they do, and that's a hard time to engage. So I think that was a piece of it. Another thing that we did look at was attendance on those days, and attendance was lower, like significantly lower on Fridays, and then on Friday early release days. And wondering if that was because it was right up against the weekend, and that's the time when people would take off. Therefore, they weren't able to engage in that professional learning. So I think those were two of the reasons, but anyone else can hop in and share.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you summed it up, right? Is the Wednesday a more prime time to engage? And if it is for staff, then that's to the detriment of students. If the student prime time is being taken for PD, and then putting the having students there all day Friday. So it was an opportunity to try something else. There are a lot of districts that do Wednesdays, so it was trying something different. But that's a great question, Foster.
Thank you.
So it probably makes sense to have you go over the attendance and then kind of talk about it in total. And so just to confirm, there's two documents attached. There was a document that was originally posted and then a new one that includes today's half PD day. So.
All right, so I have the one open now with the update. So it does include staff attendance from today as well as student attendance from today. So when the district PD committee initially looked at this data, we only were looking at staff attendance. And then it was suggested that we pull in student attendance too, which I think was a great idea. So you'll see the first graph on here shows TRTA Unit A. So attendance on professional development days on comparing Wednesdays this year to Fridays last year. So the dark blue is the attendance on the PD days. And then the light blue is, or I'm sorry, attendance. This is average number of absences across the district. And then the light blue is non-PD days. So you can see that there is a greater number of absences on PD days, whether that is on a Friday or on a Wednesday. The second graph is attendance for TRTA Unit B. It is set up the same way. So we have Wednesdays on the left this year, Fridays on the right, and the average number of absences. Once again, greater absences on PD days, whether that's a Wednesday or a Friday. And student attendance follows the same pattern. So once again, average number of absences across the district, certainly higher, general absences higher on Fridays than on Wednesdays, but you still have that pattern of having higher absences on the PD days than the days that are not PD days.
And just to note, if you're looking at the document that was originally there versus the document that is now and is going through for staff, it ticked up slightly, the average for on Wednesdays to be a little closer to Fridays. Students actually improved. January's attendance on today improved, so it improved that average. So I think it's at 126 on Wednesdays for the PD days in October, November, and December. And then that ticked down to 120. So still higher than the non-PD days, but. Yeah.
Are there any questions about this data?
Is this graph showing us that 191 students didn't come to school that day?
Across the district.
Oh, across the whole district.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But that is close to 10% of our student enrollment.
Yeah.
And on a typical Friday, it's 132. The number's big regardless, right?
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
On that survey, were there any, I see a lot of questions directed towards like student learning. Were there any questions directed towards, I guess, any feedback from the teachers about their professional development experience being better on Wednesdays than Fridays? Like, given that that was part of the potentially motivation. Do you know what I mean? Like, were they better able to concentrate in their professional development on Wednesday? Did they enjoy it more, Anna?
So that's a good question. That was actually the intention of like all of that, those summary underneath that first graph was that like, how did this change impact your professional learning? But I think the comments shifted a little bit to address student learning instead. And then some comments too, to address sort of quality of PD offerings as well. So there were some people who said Wednesday's better for me. And there were some people who said, I can't concentrate on a Wednesday in the middle of the week. So I kind of saw both sides of it, but you're right. It doesn't come out clearly because I think anytime you put comments on something, people take the opportunity to share comments as in a number of different related areas too.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And I'll just say, right, so the hope in putting it on tonight's agenda is not that you make a hard and fast decision, but that if you can give us some guidance on where you'd be leaning, it will certainly, the calendar I come back to you in February to recommend to you and discuss, it would be helpful to know what you're thinking based on this feedback.
Go ahead, Narissa.
Before we dive in, this is a total like side note, but Anna, if you put something like this together again, could you try to adjust the colors? Because my brain was so messed up looking at this and seeing the neutral always being red and the negative being yellow because you're conditioned.
Yep.
To, right?
I will absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just didn't want it to get lost in the conversation that I'm sure is about to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to find the right
So are
word.
you asking for feedback now on? what's
Yeah, I
there?
mean, yeah, the idea was if rather than, we always talk about the fact that starting next week when you meet 3 times to talk budget and then meet every Wednesday through March, right? Meetings get really busy. So if we can kind of tick this off and have a conversation tonight with this data, again, it doesn't have to be you're making a recommendation or an approval or anything, but if the committee can have a discussion and give us some feedback, that'll help us bring a calendar back to you that we think makes sense for us, but also is something that you will approve. That's the goal.
So what is the, I guess my question is what is the data point that you're looking for, whether Wednesdays or Fridays, or are you looking for a data point as to whether we should continue with Wednesday or switch it to another day?
Correct. Just, I mean, in this case, I would say consider whether it should stay on Wednesdays, keep trying it for another year, or should it revert back to Fridays? Not the rest of the calendar piece, just that component is what I was looking for feedback on.
I mean, some of the conversations that were happening with Anna was, it's only been, what, 4 months that we've started it. I know we have to come up with something in February or March as to what the data point is going to be, but I mean, what it's going to be. But if the data point that we're looking for is an increase in teacher participation in the professional development, I think, I mean, it's not a lot higher, but it is slightly ticking higher. So it just depends on what we're planning on getting out of it. And then I guess the question is why aren't teachers attending the professional development no matter what day it is? I think if you have professional development for them, a lot of them should be attending those professional developments because it's only supposed to help them. So I guess I can't really say much other than what it is that we're trying to achieve when we have professional development. If it's okay for teachers and students to take the day off, then I guess it really doesn't matter what day we land on. If teachers are going to take that day off, whether it's a Wednesday or a Friday, because the numbers are fairly close. That's not huge jumps that everybody says, yay, it's a Wednesday, let me attend that day. That's just my take.
Linda, can you see other people to call on them, or do you want me to call on them?
I guess it's Foster. I mean, I have too many things open because of the
Yeah, I'm happy to
the
call on
things
people.
that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. I see Caitlin and Foster both with their hand up, and Paul Goldner.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Foster, and then we'll go Caitlin and Paul.
Oh, there you go. So, as a student, I would always appreciate a half day on a Friday because that sounds nice. But also at the same time, I understand the benefits that can come with having a half day on Wednesdays, as in it could be beneficial for, a type of teacher that wants a half day on Wednesday or either or. So I was thinking, is there a possibility you could split down the middle, maybe? And also, just from the perspective, if teachers aren't attending the student learning, sorry, the professional development, if it's on a Wednesday, it would seem more logical if they were going to take a sick day on a Thursday and miss more school rather than sorry, I'm just saying like if people are using it as a plan to go do something or um do whatever they like to do, they would more likely be going to, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, my apologies, but my end point was that on Fridays they would take off a Saturday rather than a Thursday if they're trying to do something. But also, yeah, sorry, that went off a little more.
It's an interesting point you make. I'm assuming you mean like split it so that it would be like do 4 Wednesdays and 4 Fridays. I like that as an option. I worry about confusion, right? I think it's part of parents is like it's it's the first Wednesday of the month and they count on it. Students plan for it, and then it's just a set thing, but it's certainly something to consider. Yeah. I go to Caitlin.
It's such a big topic and it seems so silly, like picking the day of the week doesn't seem like it would be this big of a topic, but it seems like there's a lot of factors. And I guess it depends on where we focus it. Are we focusing on Triton is working on its high rate of absenteeism across the board. We have a committee working on absenteeism for students, and more students are attending on Wednesday than Friday. So that's a positive. And then we have teachers missing for whatever reason. Teachers are professionals, educators are professionals, everyone that works at Triton's a professional, they're working. So they may be taking it off just because they have appointments and families. We don't know the reasoning. So I don't want to say like, oh, I don't want to put too much emphasis on that. I think when an educator needs a day off, they need a day off. And if they have to choose a day of the week, they will most likely choose the half day. But my question is, maybe it's around the culture of half days in Triton. They seem easier to skip for staff and students. And so maybe the question is, how do we address that? How do we make half days more important and more valuable, both for professional learning and student learning, that it's not easy to skip? And that's just kind of when I'm looking at the data and I'm remembering last year's conversations and different conversations we have in the district. You want to support the families and make it consistent. You want to support staff and educators. But maybe it's more of a cultural shift we need to make, and making these days so valuable that even though they're shortened and then there's professional development, that it's important that we can't miss it. And I don't know how we would address that, but maybe that's the greater concern when we look at all this.
Absolutely. I know Linda mentioned that as well. Like, what is it that engages? And so that's Anna tried to capture it because it didn't come through clearly in the AI summary. So she put a little block up at the top just about that's been an ongoing discussion with both Unit A and B, and creating voice. And there are things that we have to provide, right? Trainings that have to happen in order to deliver programs, at a high level. But there are ways that we can revamp that. So that's been a discussion with leadership team. It's been a discussion informally, Units A and B. It's been a discussion formally through negotiations with Units A and B. So that is absolutely, and we tried to acknowledge that right at the top, an issue to address. The day of the week doesn't solve that for sure.
And also for students and families, making half days more valuable for them so that, they're not just like, well, it's okay, we can miss today, it's only a half day, but making those days more valuable somehow and more engaging so that it doesn't feel like a day that's just like, never mind. And then maybe that would make re-engagement easier on a Thursday or Friday. I also have a concern with switching it to any other day next week and just constantly changing the calendar and not letting something kind of sit and see if we can work through the problem. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it as of today.
All right. And then Paul Goldner, and he just messaged, is your internet stable now?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
We can. Maybe try killing the video. That might help. You're very choppy.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess
We can hear you.
my question for Anna is, when did the survey go out?
I'd have to look back, but I updated it as of last week. So I with like the most recent, like there were still staff that were responding to it. So right before the district PD committee meeting last week, I updated it.
Was it after the break that you originally sent it out?
I'm going to have to check, but I can tell you that in about 30 seconds.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess my overriding thought right now is that we have 3 months of data in the response, and that response is coming at a time of year that is often very crazy in the schools, with holiday happenings and heading into break and coming out of break. To me, it feels like if we're going to try something, we want to try it for long enough to actually know whether it's making a difference or not. And at this point, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And if it went out to staff in December, I would say that I'm putting an exclamation point on that statement.
Mm-hmm.
It did. It went out. The first responses came in on December 18th.
Yeah, so that feels like a timing where I don't know that we know what we know and what we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, we're kind of forced into making a decision. We have committed to approving a calendar in February. Sometimes it's bled into March, and then people start calling the day after the February meeting to ask where it is. So it is time bound, right? And I think that, to your point, Paul, there's a strong argument here to say we've got to try it a full year to see it through. I know I've had sidebar conversations with educators, I'll just say, who have said, I don't want to say it out loud because I really like Fridays, but I'm so much more affected. Like I feel so much more effective on a Wednesday, but I get it's also changing practice. And of course, it's better to have a half day. Like Foster said, of course, it's better to have a half day on a Friday. It just across the board, it feels better. But I think there is certainly kind of mixed response there. And I think the fact that including the January student data, that it actually, it was significantly improved today, which improved the average by 6 students across 4 days. That's a data point, and that goes to the point that it's not just about the impact on educator learning and improving that, but it's also, is there a detriment to students, and we have to be cautious about that other side. So I would just say, Paul, point well made. Yeah. Trying to look for other physical hands for you, Linda. Narissa's up, but it's kind of that sheepish. I always have questions.
I don't always have a question. It's just, I guess I want to point out a couple of things. One, this is totally no judgment on Anna because you have to represent it some way. But I mean, you have to also, I know Linda's looking at those 2 bars and thinking like these are big numbers, and they are comparatively big numbers. But I would also caution, like you have to remember that these are a relatively small fraction of the total, Unit A staff, Unit B staff, student body, right? It's significant, but I mean, I think Brian pointed this out at the beginning, like both of those, all the numbers are significant on this one when they're right. You have to look at it in perspective of that bigger number. And then I guess I'm not sure that I think, a majority of the committee felt compelled that there was enough of an issue last year overall that they were just seeing that to make a change. I just say, like, this isn't the only option, so if the committee still feels strongly that those reasons come to bear, other districts do, like the reverse half days where students come in late, instead of leaving at 11:40 and elementary school staff having PD after that. There are students that are coming in at 11:40 after staff has had you know, PD in the morning, and then those students are in the afternoon. I know some districts do like a 90-day or a 90-minute, is it, Anna? Like they're more frequent, but they're basically like almost like us having like a delayed start for winter. Some of them they're kind of forced into it, but they start before Labor Day and they do some full day PD days. But a lot of them are forced into that because of election days happening in their schools. So they kind of they can't have students there, right? So it's kind of that they're forced to that. But I guess I just think the committee, the majority of the committee felt like this was important. And I just think breaking it down to it's Wednesday or it's Fridays is sort of a false way to look at it.
The only thing I don't know if it's a counter, but just to say to Paul's point, to consider whether this, right, because of all the options, if we're going to try other options, we should try it and make sure that it is or it isn't working. And I do think, right, to that point about needing a full year of data, does this improve over the course of the spring? I wish we could approve the calendar in the summer for the following year, but obviously I'm not proposing that. So I guess that I think yes, right, I would just caution to try something else now versus making a decision and saying, okay, Wednesdays is not it. That's when I would say, okay, let's try something else. And just to note here, we didn't poll parents. I think we have a very clear understanding from our past around half days. And certainly Friday was the overwhelming, and we did ask about the late arrival, and that was a big concern that was even more problematic for childcare and what have you and stuff. So all options to consider still, not to not have them on the table. I just think we need to prove this concept first and make a decision about Wednesdays or Fridays. So when I say it's a Wednesday or Friday decision, I would argue that it is for this year, that it's either calling it, Fridays or Wednesdays is an absolute no-go and consider something else and never go back to it, or where the jury's still out and we should give it another year to try it out. I'm watching other hands. I don't see other hands.
Is that enough information, or did you need concrete? I want Wednesday.
I guess I would
or
love
Friday.
I heard Paul's point, right? I would not to put words in Mr. Goldner's mouth, but we got to try this out another year. Like we need at least a full year of data.
Right.
And to Narissa's point, I get it. I understand what Caitlin, it was just kind of that quandary about it's not overwhelming data, but I guess my question would be, is that a general sentiment that it feels like we at least need to try this for another year to make a decision that we should at this point? So that's a question. Do people agree that the decision right now should be just Wednesday or Friday? Like we gotta prove this concept first before we try something else. And maybe that next step is just to go back to Fridays. But for now, we need more data. Or are we ready to make a decision on Wednesdays versus Fridays?
From my perspective, I think it's going in the right direction where you have more teachers attending, and more students attending. So, I mean, my initial thought was that we probably don't have enough days into this experiment to say it's not working.
It's helpful.
And if you have 2 full years of data, then you can really make a decision as to whether this is working or not. That's my thought.
That makes sense.
Anybody else have a thought?
Foster does.
Fosters. You should be able to, there you go.
I'd have to agree on getting more data will be more helpful, because if we were to switch it back to Fridays, it would just split up the data. And if we do want to make more informed decisions about it later, it'd be best if we decided to just stick to one day, see what happens. And if it is so that Fridays is the way to go, then that'd be great. I mean, of course, but in the end, to figure out which day is just better for the students and the teachers, it'd be best to stick to our guns.
Looks like Erin has her hand raised.
I did want to ask, did we impact any programs by switching this to Wednesdays? Because I'm as we're sitting here, I'm recalling having a conversation with someone, and I don't remember whether it was like a preschool or some sort of program that all of a sudden we threw a monkey wrench in having Wednesdays, and it threw that whole program for a loop.
It was preschool. It was preschool that had the preschool teachers prep time is a half day every week. They are with their students for all of the other times. So that used to be on Wednesdays. And so it impacted the full day pre-K, shifting that early release day to Wednesdays, and it impacted the 4-day a week after the afternoon session, which when they have their meetings and registration starting in January, and those families had expressed interest in a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday afternoon session, which we then changed. So now they every week it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, except for the early release days. So it was a change in schedule. I think for many families that was a little like a welcome change, having 4 days in a row of afternoon pre-K for their children and then Fridays off. But I do think that it caused some challenges for others who had already planned for care for those days.
And I apologize if you just said this. We've already put the dates out for next year at pre-K information night. So that's already out there for incoming families. I see Owen's hand.
I know that the teachers get like a million surveys, so maybe there's not the best way to do it, but I know like Caitlin's saying that they're professionals and maybe that's the only day that they can make an appointment or whatever. We don't know, but I think that's exactly, we don't know. And I would love if there was some way that we could know, like what is from the teachers, what is their primary reason for not attending professional development? Is it because of appointments that they couldn't schedule during the weekend, any other time they're trying to minimize the impact, or, is it just dodging for fun? Is there necessarily a problem?
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think there's certainly more, like I was saying, Anna and I and principals and been having ongoing discussions. And so I think there's more questions to ask. But I think it's a both and, right? Because I do think it's both it's overall engagement with the professional development, kind of the overall plan. But I do think there are also times where like, hey, I got to schedule something. And it's easier for me to schedule it on a PD day if it's something that I don't need to be at than it is to try and if anyone who's been a teacher, it's a whole lot more work to be out and leave plans behind for someone if you want that day to be effective. So it is, right? So there's a justified, that's not the right word, but there's a good argument for why someone would choose to do that, to schedule a doctor's appointment or something like that on a day like that, on a half PD day rather than a regular school day. So I think the reasoning is diverse and across the board.
And I know the reduction in student absenteeism is compelling as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. I think I have a sense. I didn't hear from everyone, but I saw some nods when I was kind of summarizing. So obviously you did not make a decision tonight. We'll come back to you. We'll talk about that, have further discussion, and come back to you with a calendar for next year. For next month, sorry. Brain just stopped there for a moment.
Okay, the next item is the MSBA.
Can I ask one quick follow-up before we do that? Labor Day is early next year. Are you gonna propose something on the calendar around that too? Because I know that's been placement of Labor Day has been something that's caused us to go to change the calendar in past years. Just curious about that.
Yeah, so Labor Day is as late as it can possibly be
Sorry,
next
late.
year. Yeah.
Yes,
And then
not
we have
early.
a leap year the following year. So my proposal will be to start before Labor Day. I'm sorry, to start after Labor Day still. It puts the last day of school, I have it modeled out, I think on the 21st or 22nd, with Juneteenth as a Saturday. And so I think it was the last day, without looking really quick, hang on. It makes the last day in June of 27, either the 21st with snow day, without snow days, or the 28th with 5 snow days. It doesn't really snow in New England anymore, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, so I think there's really not, there's only a difference of one day, right? So the only day we're wasting is the Thursday before Labor Day. We have to be closed the Friday and the Monday per contracts. So if we start with teachers on Monday, and then everyone on Monday, and then just at Unit A on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we could do those days, right? Even if we said we're going to start school on the Tuesday, the before Labor Day, those PD days would bump into the calendar later in the year. So the only day, it only changes it by one day. That Thursday that we don't have school, educators aren't required to be here. So that's the only day we could affect it. We could end one day earlier if we went to school on that Thursday.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it was on your radar. I was sure it was on your radar, but I just want to make sure it was on your radar.
Oh, it has been put multiple times on my radar by many people. Yes, but thank you.
The next item is the MSBA project update.
Matt asked if I would do it quick. Oh, sorry.
Wait a second.
You paused.
I have my cough drop, so I was moving it. The building committee meets tomorrow night, so I know there will not be much new, but I wanted to open this to the superintendent and building committee chair if they had anything to bring up.
So the only thing, and Matt just asked me to give a quick update just to confirm that we have a signed contract with an OPM, PMA consultants. 2 of our project managers will be there tomorrow night, and we'll take over the meetings, right? They're doing the minutes. They are now our representative. It's a $450,000 contract, 2-year, in essence, 2-year contract through the next 2 phases, through the study and schematic design. And then generally speaking, you continue with the same OPM once we have an approved project. Nothing's changed on scope and scale, timeline. Rich has done a lot of work with the MSBA, checking boxes and writing things in a very specific way that they want to receive them. But I feel really good. I feel like we're in really good hands with PMA. They come with a lot of experience. And excited for the next step. So as you said, we are meeting tomorrow night. PMA will be there to start running the meetings. And we're off to the races with designer selection. And we are tentatively scheduled, hasn't been confirmed, but we are tentatively scheduled to be at the April 7th designer selection panel. Designer's a little different in that we basically get 3 voices around a table that's making the decision. Unlike with the OPM, we basically did the process and made a recommendation. For the designer, the MSBA gets a lot of say. And so I believe it's 12 DSP members from the MSBA and then 3 districts. So there's 15 who literally, we bring 3 finalists forward and they get to make, they have a more of a say than we do. So So yes, that will be something we will tackle tomorrow night. The designer selection will be a subcommittee of there'll be a subcommittee of the building committee to complete the process and then ultimately select the 3 people who will be sitting at the table with the MSBA on April 7th. We would assume then we would we would have a contract signed by the following week, second week in April. And then we would officially be in the next module and officially starting the feasibility study. So still keep saying this, still with an anticipated bring a vote to our towns in spring of 2028.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian? Seeing none. The next item is the Whittier School Committee vacancy. Whittier Tech's regional agreement calls for its school committee members to be appointed by the local district school committee every 3 years. I received a letter from the Whittier superintendent notifying us that the Newbury seat on the Whittier School Committee, currently occupied by Joanna True, is up at the end of March. Similar to past practice, I would propose to the committee that we reach out to the town of Newbury and also use our own communications to advertise the term is expiring and that any Newbury registered voter who are interested in serving in that capacity should send us a letter stating why they are interested and believe they would be a good candidate either by email to me and or the superintendent or via mail to the district office by the end of day on Friday, February 27th. I will add a vote to the March 11th school committee meeting agenda so that we can certify the results to Whittier Tech by the end of March. Are there any objections to this process? Okay. The next item is the monthly superintendent report. The superintendent will go through his monthly report.
All right, just a few quick updates for you this month. First, just to make sure, I have my weekly scoop that I did on it, which I basically just stole Bob Lathrop's video because the high school was honored as a Nationally Unified Champion School by Special Olympics. Great ceremony. You'll see the whole school picture on the cover of Patrick's budget proposal or his school improvement plan. Just a really neat day and just a really impressive celebration or impressive accomplishment. So one of 17 schools in Massachusetts and one of 217 across the whole country that have achieved this honor. And it's not just having one unified sports team, it's multiple teams, it's multiple programs, it's opportunities within the school and the day. So certainly something to celebrate. To confirm that we are focusing this month on collaborator, the role of collaborator for our Portrait of a Learner rollout. So as we had said, we will be bringing one school for each of the 5 roles. And so it is Salisbury's turn. So again, we took the month of December off because it's such a quick month, but Salisbury will be coming in February to honor the students that most represented the role of being a collaborator. And it's just fun to talk. We were just talking the other day just around how this language is starting to work its way in, right? It's a process. It's going to take a long time before it comes and becomes fully embedded. But it's really great to start hearing the language, the collaborator, the community member, young, old, right, across the board. Lots of work still to do, but it's really pleased with the progress. Transportation update. Rich can add anything if he wants, but just a quick thing to say things are going well and knock on every piece of wood that is within your reach. That it was a bumpy start. I would say the start was nothing like last year, the year prior. There were a few days that there were a few problems, and the problems were large problems, if you will, but they were pretty isolated. And since then, obviously, we have a contract now that calls for liquidated damages or penalties. And Rich is a tracker, so you got to know every opportunity. We're keeping track of that and making sure it's reflected on invoices. So certainly the pressure is working, and so we will stay on it. But as of this point in time, NRT has stepped up. We have a full cohort of drivers. Call-outs have been rare and able to be covered for most cases. So just want to say, right, we don't often get to say positive things about that. So just call it what it is at the moment. Just to confirm our timeline for the SQM surveys, we'll be rolling that out again the week before February break. So it'll be a family survey, it'll be a student survey, it'll be a staff survey. So it'll be the half PD day in February, where we will roll it out to faculty and staff and to students. And then for families, it will be open that entire week. We'll start messaging the week before, obviously, to make sure they expect to see that coming. And then last thing there is the personnel report, standard report. Certainly happy to ask or answer any questions that you might have about that.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian? Seeing none. We're gonna go to Foster and the student representative report.
Hang on a second, you need a motion. I'll make a motion to recommend that I'll make a motion to receive and file the superintendent's report for January 2026.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Aaron Berger,
Yes.
Paul Goldner,
Yes.
Caitlin Hunter,
Yes.
Matthew Anders,
I'm sorry, yeah.
Paul Mayette,
Yes.
Owen Silva,
Yes.
Marissa Wallen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. And we'll go to Foster.
Oh, sorry. There you go. Now you can. Sorry, Foster.
No problem at all. I would like to start my student report off by thanking Mr. Forget for the late start we had recently because of the ice. It was nice to sleep in. And
Get it in while you
starting
can.
off, we have, I know, just some things that have been coming up recently. There's been a lot of influx around prom, as we're starting to reach the midway point. People are starting to ramp up for prom, and we're having a meeting between the junior officers and senior officers about planning, the details, maybe the food menus, prices this Friday. So exciting news. And then I have, I'm not sure many of you guys can see this, but I have a section for recent concerns. I just want to be aware, I'm sure this is being handled with care, but over the last week or two, there was an incident where approximately 20 cars were broken into, some taken or stolen from. I mean, there isn't much I can do or motion for on this, but I just want it to be known and out there, make sure everybody understand what happened. As it's people's cars, and I don't want to it's very helpful to have people go out, to have the ability to go out and go to your car, say you forgot something, say you need anything. It just it's things that happen. Some people brought it up to me about the gas leak situation. It was handled well. Just a lot of people were concerned going back into the building before knowing what was going on. Necessarily, like knowing the full situation. That's what I'm bringing up. And then starting this week, I put together a sports breakdown. The sports statistics I can bring up. For wrestling, it was 2-8-1, but I just came from a wrestling meet, and we are now 3-8-1.
Excellent.
Thank you. A great stat is Riley Ann Tarmy, one of our female wrestlers, is one of the first in history to win the Lowell Holiday Tournament. I didn't have an interesting stat for basketball. They're at 0-9 at the moment, but I'm sure they can round or win against Newburyport tomorrow, I believe. Girls are 1-9. Boys winter track are 1-3, and Cassidy broke the indoor track 2-mile record for winter track. Girls winter track is 2-2. Our swim team's doing great, 4-0 for the girls and 3-1 for the boys. I got two more things on my student report. One is the new announcement system. Sorry. because of how our PA system is functioning, it's not very useful. It's like out in the school, the bells are much quieter and raspy in a way. And we've switched to videos that are pre-recorded, but the problem with it is they get sent out to the teachers, I've heard, after the start of class. So in most of my classes, except for like the first day that happened, we didn't watch a PA system, or like we didn't watch an announcement. I don't know if it's a mandatory thing, but I thought it was important. And then I was asked to present the high school led musical Seussical based off of Dr. Seuss is going to be performed January 30th and 31st. Apologies. And I believe middle schoolers are being brought in to watch the performance. That's all.
Thank you, Foster. Does anybody have any questions for Foster?
Thank you, Foster.
Yep.
Thank you.
The next items are the subcommittee reports, policy and advocacy, Erin Berger.
Policy and advocacy met tonight. We made it almost all the way through G, so we have a little bit of G left to be able to finish before we'll get to the whole committee. With that, taking a look forward, we still have the little bit of G left to work on, and then we have some of H to work on for this year. Additionally, we talked a little bit about communications, and we do have somebody coming in to speak with us at our next meeting to talk about communication outlook.
Thank you, Erin. Personnel and negotiations,
Our next
Matthew
meeting
Landers.
is going to be.
Oh, sorry. Personnel negotiations, Matthew Landers.
We met on the 7th and we're meeting with Unit A on the 22nd.
Finance, Paul Mayette.
We've set our meetings time-wise with Owen as our new member. So our next meeting will be on the 29th, and we'll be meeting with our auditor in the February meeting.
Okay, and the next item is adjournment. I just want to thank everybody once again. I mean, it takes all of us to do the work that we do. It takes a village. Next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are our budget meetings at 6 o'clock. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Erin Berger,
Yes.
Paul Goldner,
Yes.
Caitlin Hunter,
Yes.
Matthew Landers,
Yes.
Paul Mayette,
Yes.
Owen Silva,
Yes.
Narissa Wallen,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.